Because they are afraid. And when analytically search on the basis of person, if you do not find the person, then it becomes a non-existent. So they develop a kind of sense of fear on that. So they assert that phenomena do not exist truly. Then they demonstrate with the example of how the magician transform pieces of wood and pieces of stone into the horse and elephants and so on. With that example, then they prove that phenomena do not exist truly.
And then it
is quite evident for us that if you have illusory woman, the woman which is transformed by the magician with the substance, then even though you appear as a woman or the man, then in your mind you do not believe that as a woman or man. So the Southern Madhyamika says that how you view upon that illusory person, upon that illusory. So similarly, you should also satisfy with the cases with the other phenomena. That's mere like an illusion. Because they say you cannot question to the illusory person or the illusory woman saying, where you're from and which country you're from and what nationality you are and so on, isn't it? So then they say, the person, although do not exist truly, but it exists, from their own right and from its own side. Because when you analytically search, you can find on the basis of consciousness. Maybe among all of us here, maybe many of us also have maybe similar theories that when we search, we can find on the basis of consciousness. Maybe many of us also accepting that way here. Because normally many people have a doubt about this. If you assert the person on the basis of physical body, when the person dies, the body is cremated, then there's never continuation of a person. So people believe maybe the person or the being is on the basis of consciousness. So if one is, carrying this kind of theory, or and following this kind of theory, then that means one is following the Southern Madhyamika theory, more or less like a Southern Madhyamika way of understanding. Because they give an example, for magician to to create this illusory elephant or horse, the magician do not need elephant or horse, but it needs some basis to create. Without basis, it cannot create. So they give this kind of example, like pieces of stone or pieces of wood. On that basis, the magician is able to create an elephant and horses. So, this, when you go to the higher than that view, it's the Prasangika Madhyamika view, then they assert, this hero and the solitary realizers, just by realizing this self or the person being empty of independent and self-supporting existence, they will not achieve the liberation, and they will not be free from sufferings of the cycle of existence. So now, this Prasangika Madhyamika theory is, very high and, it's very subtle point to understand. So usually when we talk about the person or the I, then there's two levels. We appear two different kind of eyes. One is the actual existent I or the conventional I. Then other is the non-existent I. Although it is the same object, it's the I, but then different way of believing or different way of grasping at it. Some, believe the mere I, or some accept the mere I, and some cling upon the, the I being truly existent, independently existent, and then some believe that I being lack of true existence. So there are three ways of accepting the I. So in reality, the I, which is merely labeled upon the aggregations of the five aggregates, is the existent I. So here we need to recognize or understand the I which is non-existent. For example, within this hall, if someone's name is called Tashi, then in order to recognize him, in order to reply that person, who is looking for that person, to reply that this person is not here, then you have to know that person. Without knowing that person, you can't reply saying Tashi is not here because you don't know him. So, same way, when we say the self is non-existent, then we have to know in which way it doesn't exist, in which way it exists. We have to identify these two. So, if one is training in the thought of the Prasangika Madhyamika school, then first of all we have to train in the concept of that all phenomena are merely imputed by the concepts of thoughts. So it is said that using many logical process or logical reason, then training one's concept in such a way that all phenomena are merely imputed. Just mere imputation is given upon the basis of designation. Training in this way, and later, if you want to, trace back on the object of negation, then it's much easier to refute the object of negation. But when I'm trying to realize or doing the practice, then first we need to realize the selflessness of the person. Afterwards, then the selflessness of the phenomena or the interdependent origination. But once to collect the information or to the idea, then first we try to understand the interdependent origination, and then use same logic upon understanding the selflessness of the person. So first of all, it is very important to know, using with very many logics, how the phenomena are merely imputed. So when you talk about phenomena are merely imputed, means the imputation should be given upon something which is existent. Just because thing is merely imputed, you can't impute upon anything. You cannot impute upon the non-existent things. For example, if you were to impute the president of this country, then you have to give the label to the person who have the quality to be a president. You cannot give the label upon anybody. Because if you give the label of president upon the person who does not know anything, then the other logical reason or the other logics can harm towards such a labeling. Because even if you were to label or give the label of president on such a person, people will not believe because that person doesn't hold the quality to be a president, It doesn't have the quality to be a president. So people will think that it's a kind of joke. So even if they hear that he was, labeled as a president, they hear, but in their mind they don't believe that he's a president. So that's how the other logics harms are there. So when you give label upon the basis of designation, then afterwards you shouldn't receive any harm by the other logical consciousness, such as the consciousness analyzing the conventional phenomena, even if the consciousness which is analyzing on the basis of ultimate phenomena do not find, but at least the consciousness analyzing or analyzing the conventional phenomena do not harm upon the basis on which you have given the designation. For example, if you were to label person to someone, you have to label upon all the five, upon the basis of all collections of all the 5 aggregates. You cannot just label person to only part of him, just for the hand or the legs. You cannot label that as a person. After having labeled on the object or on the basis of designation, if the other logical reason doesn't harm, then it's okay. For example, I usually take the example of the dollar. If you have the $100 note, it is the person who labeled as a $100 note, but the $100 didn't exist from his own side and from his own right from beginning.
당보 말아서 라데 고 쇼를 더 못이 인텔리아니 다 제가 배가다 손도 손들이야 높에 뭐만 자다 말이야 이다 쓰는 거 대고 사이 자네는 대신에 마탐 미 강말로 이다 쓰는 강말로 배가네 봐 인터넷에 다 쓰는 배명다로 제리안 가만히 지켜보러
So, the beginning is just a mere paper. So, certain number of officials gather together and then make the drawings, certain drawings, and on such a basis, they agreed, to make that a dollar or money, $100. Then after that, then it became a dollar, but it didn't become dollar from the beginning. So, that's how you know that with a lot of collections, a lot of gatherings of different qualities and different conditions, then the label is given on that basis. So that's how we know that the dollar is merely imputed upon that basis, but the dollar did not exist from its own side and from its own right. Since it was labeled in that way with many qualities and with the agreement of a number of people, so now even if you were to refute or negate with your logic, you can't, because that was labeled by the proper and valid consciousness.
If
the $100 note were to exist from the beginning, from his own side and from his own right, without having introduced, you are able to recognize as a $100. So that's how it shows that it didn't exist from his own side and from his own right. So similar with this example, then you can apply with the other existence, other phenomena, how the other existence are also imputed in that way. In a similar way, in our case, in the so-called I and I, we have the idea or the concept that I is mainly imputed upon the aggregation of the five aggregates or upon the collections of the five aggregates. We do have such an idea. But when we are analyzing in this way and thinking in this way, you can understand that I is mainly imputed, but that kind of concept does not directly harm to the self-grasping attitude. But on the other hand, if you have the idea of how all phenomena are merely imputed, existing on the basis of mere imputation, then later, when the self-grasping attitude is enhancing or growing stronger at that time, then it's helpful to reduce or to minimize. And then when the self-grasping attitude clings very strongly at that point, then the concept we used to have from before, like the mere imputed and so on, and then the clinging becomes a contradiction at this point here. So in reality, then in reality or in actuality, all phenomena are able to exist on the basis of mere imputation, is given upon the basis of designation. But yet, the way how the I-grasping attitude or the self-grasping attitude holds is completely mistaken. Since that is mistaken, since the self-grasping attitude is clinging mistakenly upon that self, then entire thing is mistaken. Entire thing what we do is mistaken and confused. Because it becomes our main leader or the main ruler of us. Then, since the ruler or the main leader is totally mistaken, then everything becomes mistaken. So, since this the self is grasped by the ignorant, so like in another word, in Tibetan words, Milarepa is unawareness. So we have to make it aware of how it clings. So in order to negate or refute such a object which is clinging by the ignorant, then we have to develop a consciousness or the wisdom which is completely contradictory to that. So if you do not generate or develop direct contradictory consciousness to this ignorant, then no matter how much the other qualities you have, such as love, compassion, and altruism, can harm to destroy that clingings. No matter what kind of profound practice we carry, if one is unable to develop or generate the wisdom which is contradictory with that self-grasping ignorant, then it doesn't harm to uproot the self-grasping ignorant. So as long as one is unable to eradicate that self-grasping ignorance, I know we don't enjoy our life. We don't have happiness. Because of having this self-grasping ignorance or the I-grasping ignorance, although we do not wish suffering, disease, illness, but it naturally comes because of the underlying root is there. Although we wish happiness, we wish to enjoy, but it doesn't happen because the underlying root is still there. So, as long as this I-grasping ignorance is there, when you face illness or disease, by going to the doctor or by using medication, maybe you may temporarily able to reduce the pain or relieve, subtle diseases, but one is unable to uproot the main cause of the disease because the I-grasping ignorance is there. And then there's no medicine, which can cure the root of all the disease and, or to achieve undying state of rebirth. So usually, as an ordinary being like ourselves, whatever object that appears to our mind, we appear them being, truly existing from their own right and from their own side. Then in that case, although it appears, the object appears being truly existing from their own side, but it is not important to reject such a or to refute such appearances.
By
refuting the appearances of true existence, it still doesn't harm to the eye-grasping ignorant. So what we need to do here is that you appear the object and the self being existing from its own side and from its own right, and then we cling as it appears to us. So what we need to do is we need to refute that clinging. So if one is able to, carry on the understanding of how to refute the clinging upon that self, upon the apprehension of that self, then followed by one is also easily able to refute the appearances, these true appearances. Therefore, initially, it is very important to know how the self-grasping ignorant clings upon its object. Because in general, I know, no matter including dream times, then I know, the eye-grasping ignorant, in our mind, the eye appears to be existing from its own side truly, and as it is appearing in that way, then we cling on it even during the dream times. So, so let, the eye-grasping ignorant to fully cling upon its object, and then search how it clings, the way of it is clinging, watch it that, and then try to generate very tiny wisdom or tiny mind from the side, and then check how it clings and how it grabs at such a self. Because normally when you check in that way, the innate eye-grasping attitude, it remains very short period. It doesn't last very long. Because that eye-grasping, the inner eye-grasping attitude is very tricky. Once one is trying to analyze, then it moves here and there. Sometimes you appear it being existing on the basis of the physical body or the aggregates, and sometimes it being appearing on the basis of mind. So you are actually confused to check, because it's moving here and there. So it takes quite a while to actually identify the object of negation. So, once one is able to identify the object of negation, then it is quite easily can be refuted then by utilizing the 4-point analysis. First, no matter how long it takes, try to identify the object of negation, try to understand the object of negation, and then later you use this 4-point analysis. It is said that without using the 4-point analysis, there's no way you can understand the emptiness.
그냥 알아서 배가 타바디야 드링을 놓지야지 여러분. 타바디 놓지야지.
For example, normally, we like mistakenly, believe that kind of coil petal rope being a snake, isn't it?
다 타바디 드링을 놓지 온지나 소지나 시나 때도 뒤를 한번 시나지 소지나 비가 뒤를 코레만에 뒤 코레만에 뒤 때가지 능고 또 나도 로트리 때가지 나도 미가
So once we perceive the sense of the coil rope being a snake, our mind is totally mistaken, and we believe or we think that is the snake, and we develop sense of fear from our side, and then we see that snake being existing from its own side very independently. If we know that is a mistaken consciousness, that is a wrong, attitude, then we do not develop the fear. But at that point, we are unable to recognize the mistaken consciousness as a mistake.
But
here then we appear that a piece of rope, the piece of coil rope, being a snake, in the form of a snake and existing from its own side. So, although it appears in the form of snake, being existing from its own side independently, once one is able to realize that our mind is clinging mistakenly or wrongly, at that point the fear is disappear. Or once one is able to realize that is a rope, then the snake being existing from its own side, the past appearances is lost. Because usually, although it is not the case in reality, it's just a piece of coil rope, but our mistaken consciousness labels upon that object, thinking that it's a snake there, and then believe that existing from its own right, very concretely there. But in reality, it is our conceptual thought that imputes upon that object, isn't it? But although it is like that, but in our mind, we appear that object being existing from its own side, and it generates a strong sense of fear within us. So once one is, later on, when one is able to realize that is a piece of rope, then, there's no fear of being snake, and then the snake itself, the appearance of snake itself being lost. And then this is strong fear that we develop through, depending on that object, is also, disappeared. In a similar way, once the I-grasping ignorant or the self-grasping ignorant of existence. So, if one is able to identify, the object of negation while it is clinged by that self-grasping attitude, then one is for the first time found this ultimate view, or the one is for the first time understanding the emptiness. So then, on such emptiness, one way, that object being, empty of inherent existence or true existence. In another way, developing its strong sense of feeling, or developing, a settlement upon that, this self which is clinged by innate eye-grasping attitude is a non-existent. With this kind of two qualities, then one has to, contemplate. On such emptiness, one has to contemplate and then carry on the meditation. Because otherwise, if you do not have the strong sense of that self is not existing truly, the sense of the object clinged by the eye-grasping, which is which is not existing truly from its own side. If you don't have such a feeling, if you don't have such a statement, then it doesn't harm to the root delusions, the outlying cause of all the problems. So, beside this, if you just focus or observe upon that, thinking that all, the object lacking, inherent existence or true existence, not regarded as a meditation on emptiness, because it doesn't actually, harm to the eye-grasping ignorance. So if one is doing that, then it is kind of a waste of energy and time. So, and after having found the emptiness, then if one develops a sense of feeling that I found emptiness, I'm going to meditate on emptiness. If one generally such an attitude is also wrong. So that means it's still one that doesn't have the proper understanding of lack of true existence. And then another word, if one develops the empty appearances, and then if one does not have the settlement of that emptiness, then it still is not meditation on emptiness. So when one actually finds the selflessness, at that point, even the conventional I, for the moment, disappears. The practitioner is not rejecting or refuting the conventional I, but because of his or her very forceful meditation of an emptiness, for the moment it also disappears to exist. So since and because of the practitioner's very forceful meditation upon the upon negating the true existing self, the self which seems to be existing from his own side, then because of very forceful refutation, it also disappears the conventional level of I or the actual existent I. Then the practitioner develops very strong fear that he himself being lost or something like that. So at that point, one might face some difficulties. So
다도 내가 이번 메시지 요가 나와도 하 요가 다 아니 이도 관에 아니 유때 봐 유튜브 그거는 영어로 유튜브가 돼야 가라고 그러.
So after having done such analysis, while having the empty appearances, negating the lack of true existence or inherent existence, and then there's a feeling or the ascertainment in the mind, to combine, in the meditation you have to combine these 2 points. But to combine these 2 points together is also quite difficult.
나 지난 돈이 그래다 고와 차이는 당시에 다 지내년에 세다 지내 누구든가지나 아니 돈이 그 고와차 근데 단단니까 배다 지내는 나시면 안에 그 때도 잡았어 내시 잡아 갈래다 지내 그 모두가 원하는 내시 잡았어 그 돈이 달아봐 내시니 그냥 들어가 봐서.
So if one has formally achieved the calm abiding of the mind or the single point of concentration, then one shifts the object and focuses upon the emptiness, and then I use this 4-point analysis to analyze the emptiness. Then once one develops a sense of feeling or sense of experience on emptiness, then focuses and carries on the meditation for a while. And while one loses the object of the meditation, again use the same analytical process, and then try to regain the experience, and then again observe on that basis for a while, like that. Because even if one is focusing upon the emptiness, if the sources of experience or the ascertainment upon emptiness is losing, then one shouldn't remain on that state. Again, use the analytical process to regain the experience, and then again combine these two, unite these two, and then have to focus. So this object of negation, this innate eye-grasping attitude or the self-grasping attitude arises a situation where one is very fearful, or one is highly criticized, or one is having terrible bad times. At those occasions, then this object of negation very strongly appears to us. So when this object of negation is manifesting, and at that point when it's manifesting, then we have to, that is the point where we have to make the investigations or the analysis. But at that point, if your investigation is too strong or too forceful, then the innate eye-grasping attitude, loses its object. And then the self which is grasped or clinged by the ignorant, disappears. So it is said that the self which is clinged by the ignorant is not very far. The consciousness which is searching that object itself is the self. This eye-grasping, the self, self which is grasped by the self-grasping attitude is very tricky and very hard to catch. Because while you are investigating, sometimes you find it existing on the physical form, and sometimes you find it is on the basis of the consciousness, and sometimes it looks like it is showing the face to you, and then suddenly disappearing and so on. So it's very hard to catch right away. unless one takes very strong, sense of purification and practice and combined with the accumulations of merit, it is quite hard to identify or to find the object of negation. Because we are under the influence of such self-grasping attitude, such grasping ignorance. So right away, to identify and negate, it's very difficult since we are acquainted with it since beginningless lifetime. Because the eye-grasping, attitude has very strong imprint to always live with us or with that place. So there's one text which talks about the prayer to the self-grasping attitude. There it says there's infinite information and infinite people are trying to destroy me, but they're never ever able to touch me and catch me. They says, I was always helpful to them, whenever they feel hungry, whenever they feel, thirsty and cold, I was always helping them, but they're always trying to, destroy me. And then it says that from the peak of cyclic existence to the lowest, the treacherous hell, I'm supporting all these areas like that. It says, and I support all the time whenever they feel hungry, thirsty, and cold, and so on. And even when they get sick, I support them. And they're still trying to destroy me. Because, it is just their wish to destroy me, but to actually destroy me is same like the star in the day. So therefore, it's not that easy, to right away understand or right away negate. We have to collect a lot of information about it, and just by hearing once or twice is not sufficient. Try to take teachings often, more and more, and try to read the books on which the topics were written and so on. Because as much as we can hear about the emptiness, as that the world such as lack of inherent existence and lack of truth and so on, the more imprint is left in our mind, and that makes easier in the future to understand and realize that the emptiness. Because some they say, this topic I've already heard once, I don't need to hear anymore. So that means they don't leave imprint in their mind, and instead supporting the self-grasping attitude. So that means they are serving to the self-grasping attitude. So whether one is gaining experience or not, whether one is gaining realizations or not, to keep trying, to continue to read the books and to continue to try to practice and so on is very important. certain things which you must have to have, then even if you have to listen maybe 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times, then you have to listen to. Because the more you hear, the more imprints are left. Then, and one day, then the imprints will manifest, and that's the opportunity for you to realize the emptiness. Because it is the quality of the consciousness. So the quality of consciousness can increase further and further up. And then it can increase infinitely. Because the physical quality cannot increase infinitely, because it can increase for a while, and later it decreases down. Because the quality of consciousness or the consciousness is not same like the physical body. It increases the quality more and more. So if the consciousness, the quality of consciousness cannot increase infinitely, then there's no hope for the enlightenment, isn't it? Because the quality of consciousness is increasing, or our consciousness is able to collect infinite qualities, therefore we all have the hope for enlightenment, and we all listening very interestingly towards the topics and teachings. So please try to realize emptiness during the next session. So today we will stop here.